a river that I've been washing my hands in forever. I know there is hope in these waters, but I can't bring myself to swim when I am drowning in this silence. Baby, let me in. Go easy on me, baby. I was still a child, didn't get the chance to feel the world around me. I had no time to choose what I chose to do. So go easy on me. There ain't no room for things to change when we are both so deeply stuck in our ways. You can't deny how hard I've tried. I changed who I was to put you both first, but now I give up. Go easy on me, baby. I was still a child, didn't get the chance to feel the world around me. Had no time to choose what I chose to do. So go easy on me. I had good intentions and the highest hopes, but I know right now it probably doesn't even show. Go easy on me, baby. I was still a child, I didn't get the chance to feel the world around me. I had no time to choose what I chose to do. So go easy on me.
I will fight for you. I always do until my heart is black and blue. And I will stay with you. We'll make it to the other side like lovers do. I'll reach my hands out in the dark and wait for yours to until I can wait for you. I'll wait for you. 'Cause I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, no, not yet. Even when I'm down to my last breath. Even when they say there's nothing left. Now I'll hold on to you. No matter what this world will throw, it won't shake me loose. I'll reach my hands out in the dark and wait for yours to until I can wait for you. I'll wait for you. 'Cause I'm not giving up, no, not yet. Even when I'm down to my last breath, even when they say there's nothing left. So don't give up on. I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even when nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me. I will fight for you.
Yeah, okay. All right then.
It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine, that's your way. You always walked a step behind. So I
Hi. I would like to begin by apologizing to my father, as we cannot provide the funerals he so emphatically requested time and time again my entire life. He wanted his abdomen hollowed out and filled with crab dip so he could be the buffet table, which the mortuary, the law, and my mother have denied. I feel like that's a good segue into explaining what kind of person he was. Growing up, it always kind of felt like my dad was a superhero. Endlessly kind, patient, inspiring, and always helpful. Now I'm older, and he was unusual because that impression was never dispelled. I wasn't the only one who felt that way, and it only got stronger as I got older. Even as I reached my early teens and went through the classically necessary experience of feeling alone in the world, he made it impossible to really feel unloved. He never stopped learning and encouraged others to do the same. He always had something interesting to say and listened happily to what others had to say in return. He made a genuine effort to understand everyone, even if he didn't agree with them. I've never met anyone else who did so as well as he did. A few years ago, I asked him if I could go to one of his programming conferences with him on a whim. I'll gladly admit that I mostly wanted an excuse to get one-on-one time with him, but I've never once regretted going to any of them. Not least because I've never seen him more in his element than when he was among peers, talking about things he loved. At first I felt like an outsider in the crowd, but saying I was Noah's son brought in a degree of immediate acceptance I wasn't expecting. Almost everyone I spoke to seemed to know him, at least vaguely. He had one of those magnetic personalities you read about in fiction, and then mentally chide the author for straining your suspension of disbelief. I think part of that was because he seemed completely unafraid to make himself seem childish or silly, because he knew it put people at ease. Even just being near him was comforting in a way I can't fully describe, and saying that he'll be missed might be the biggest understatement I've ever made. And yet, his sort of love never really leaves you. His presence still saturates our house and every part of our lives. Things he made, gifts he gave, songs he sung, and skills he taught us are still here. Every time I tell a bad joke, I'll still hear his laughter in my mind. Because in all the world, there was nothing quite like his love to make you feel at home. I'll miss him forever, but making this speech about that seems ungenuine, and it seems like it doesn't really fit him. So instead, I'll try my best to stay true to his memory and be happy we had him, instead of only being sad that he's gone. And on that lovely note, why can't a bicycle stand up by itself?
Because it's too tired. Dad, how many times did we need to hear that one?
Oh, there are more of you than I anticipated. Okay, awesome. In order to tell you about Noah, I'm going to have to tell you a little bit about myself. I will try hard to keep that to a minimum. Noah Gibbs had a once-in-a-generation mind. His curiosity was absolutely boundless. He would dance around esoteric math concepts, deep religious exploration, hypnosis, NLP, physical hobbies like motorcycling, blacksmithing, making chainmail, playing the piano. He truly loved feeding people. Noah cared a lot about understanding why people do what they do, because then he could figure out what he needed to act like in order to be in an ethical relationship with that person. From the earliest days I knew him, he always spoke frankly about the cost of every relationship. There were reasons that he spent a lot of time alone. People wore him out. But he never begrudged us our needs, though. He'd sigh a little and slap a big grin on his face and pitch in with whatever needed to be done. Noah was a deeply driven man. He was driven to leave Texas. He was driven to find a community that would love him. And he was driven to figure out how he could help make tech a better place for his peers. From his earliest memories, he felt deeply inadequate and worthless and unloved. Let me be clear that while growing up autistic in a small town was often rough, he was loved and valued. He just didn't know how to feel it. He struggled to feel connected to people. He believed his hometown was happy to see the back of him when he left. And if you asked him where he was from, he would just say, a prison town, as if that was all the information necessary. That said, it's been a real balm to his soul to reconnect with a few of you over the past few years. Thank you, George. Thank you, Shannon. It's been really wonderful watching him recontextualize pieces of his past and find more peace with his childhood. I'm ever so grateful for the time you spent with him. You didn't do it for me, but I got to live with a man who was carrying a smaller burden because of your friendship. Thank you. Noah's first true love was programming. He fell hard when he was 7. His second was food. Everyone who hung out with him gained weight. His third was me, and I didn't mind coming in third because his third place was still really magical. He was in love with computers and technology and the ways they come together to change lives. Computers made sense to him in a way that humans did not. Humans were unpredictable and impossible to control. I'm not going to give his computer and technology pedigree because he speaks about it much better than I do, and you can find him on YouTube. Computers brought him to Carnegie Mellon University and then on to Silicon Valley. He found friends and allies and comrades among the programmers, artists, weirdos, and freaks. His relentless enthusiasm for learning, growing, and connecting with people drove his ever-widening social net. Noah believed that he had been born luckier than most, and it was his responsibility to help as many people as he could in any way that he could. He was the modern-day embodiment of noblesse oblige. We literally talked about it using that phrase a lot over the years. In Silicon Valley, he started throwing massive open invite parties. If you found the invitation on the internet, you were welcome to show up. He themed them around historical disasters. He was morbid like that. And thus was born the Disaster House Parties, or DHPs for short. He said he was drift net fishing for interesting people. Really, he was looking to see if he could meet enough people to fill the black hole of loneliness inside of him. I met him in the kitchen of that house. He shoved a box of expensive fancy chocolates in my face and demanded that I try a truffle. By the way, his name is Noah. Nice to meet me. Our Calidora was later born in that kitchen. We liked each other instantly, but we didn't know how to connect properly at first. We knew that we matched in ways that felt uncanny and improbable, but I wanted to get married and have kids, and he wasn't sure that was the path for him. After 9 months of dating, I didn't think he had it in him to settle down, so I broke up with him. I told him I had too many balls in the air, and I didn't think he had potential for the long haul, so I needed to let him go. If I were better at chess, one might think I made that move on purpose, but I did not. He spent the next 18 months working on himself feverishly. He fixed every complaint that I had about his lifestyle. He went around to all his ex-girlfriends and asked for advice. Should he come back and ask me to marry him, even though I had already dumped him? All of the gals have told me they unanimously told him to go for it. He did. He tried to talk me out of marrying him basically as soon as the request finished coming out of his mouth. I told him he needed to shut up and let me think. A few minutes passed, and I decided I could do that. Yeah, marrying him sounded like a good choice. We spent 6 months going through all the questions in a book called Things to Discuss Before You Say I Do. We had a lot of very loud conversations, and we've rarely fought since. Our disagreements have tended to come in clusters of difficulty where we were both scratchy with each other for a while, and then everything smoothed back out again. Each time of strife brought us closer together and made us fall even more in love. It's safe to say, despite us not going to casinos, Noah and I are both gamblers at the soul level. We looked at each other and saw the potential for partnership and family. It was a risk. Many people get their hearts broken, but it was a smart risk to take. It led to both of us finally feeling like we were really part of a family. My home has never been a building. My home is wherever I am with Noah. We have wandered around the globe together, and the only thing either of us needed to feel entirely at ease was one another. As our kids came, we felt we finally understood what other people meant about being able to love more than one person. We were both afraid we would be bad parents because we didn't know how to feel and give love very well. Instead, we both found that parenthood was the motivation we had wanted all along. Being better people so that we could be those better people in front of our children was our primary driving force over the past 15 years. The first year and a half, we were just trying not to die with an incredibly high-needs child. Sometimes you're just surviving. Noah said that he looked for me like water in the desert. He didn't mind that I came with some hard work. Noah started out with a deep well of emptiness and pain inside of him. It's one of the ways we match. If anything, the black hole inside of me is even deeper and more vast. Intellectually, I understand that I'm deeply loved by a variety of people. In my heart, the only person who makes me feel loved is Noah. The kids come very close, but I always have to be very careful not to ask for or take too much from them. We don't have a peer relationship. Noah was my peer. I could ask and ask and ask for more, and it was always acceptable. I know my kids love me, and that's going to be the primary balm in my life going forward. Together, Noah and I parented well enough that we created 3 people who love us intensely and who know how to have all the feelings, and they know that they will be accepted and supported through every mistake. Well done, Noah. Well done, me. We've had an intense marriage, and we were as obsessively together and focused on our relationship in the hours before his death as we were on the day we got married. Anything, our love was deeper and fuller and more complete. We saw more of each other, and we accepted every flaw without reservation. Yes, we wanted to kick each other in the butt to do better over and over again, but that's because that's what we wanted from each other. And it was so we could be better for our kids. When I was hunting for a co-parent and life partner, my main criteria revolved around how they would be as a parent. Before meeting me, Noah didn't want kids. That was a lot of why I didn't fall harder for him faster. It's most of why I walked away. Losing me made him realize that he was interested in seeing what our children would be like. He wasn't generically interested in being a parent. He was only interested in doing so with me. Given the mind he carried around in his meat sack, I am extremely delighted that he picked me. I do also have to say that picking a co-parent with a head that big around was a questionable life choice. I'm just saying. Together we created 3 people who feel deeply loved and valued and treasured. Kind of a miracle in our gene pool. We made happy people. So much of our success as parents has been because neither of us feel like any behavior is non-negotiable. If we do something that hurts someone, then as soon as we find out, we stop because we don't want to hurt people. We did this together over and over. He never ran out of drive to do or be or act better. He was truly inspirational to me. I had complaints about him because I love to complain. It's a low-key hobby. The complaints were all really stupid and small. And he would hold me close and beam with happiness because if I'm complaining about stupid stuff, then that means I'm doing really well. It meant nothing bad was happening and he could relax. He watched me like he was watching the weather report. He made me feel more seen than any other person on earth has. It was a superpower of his. Noah made people feel like experts. He made people feel interesting. He was good at making all of you feel like you were important too. He didn't care if you shoveled horse manure or were a big-name CEO. Mostly he treated people the same. If anything, he was more specifically and purposefully hesitant and respectful of people who were less likely to be wealthy or educated. He grew up in a town where he saw grinding poverty and cruel manifestations of state control constantly enforced at every level of society. That's what happens in a prison town. He wanted to be part of creating places that were better than that, kinder than that. He learned to ask permission first before providing unfiltered feedback that allowed you the opportunity to grow as a person. Sometimes his delivery was made with a clue-by-four, but more and more often as the years went by, it was through deferential and gentle and undemanding suggestions. He learned how to be heard more deeply because he learned how to make people feel safe around him. In the last few months, he spent a lot of time talking about his father and how his father had existed in the small town where he grew up. No one knew that relationships take work, and finding a place in a community means offering to freely share everything you can. There was a common theme among people who sent in stories. Noah was genuinely happy to meet you because you knew things he didn't, and he was going to get to learn. He really was delighted by each of you. I heard about all the dinners and the train conversations and the karaoke shenanigans. Ruby people in particular, he really loved you. You were his chosen family. You were building the information railroad together, and he was full of joy when you did well. I know that Mats likes to say that Ruby isn't kind because of him. Personally, I like to think that Ruby is so kind because people like Noah were early adopters, people who truly wanted to build their part of the information railroad with embedded kindness. He wanted all of you to feel connected. He knew how hard feeling alone was, and he wanted to take it from you. Noah thought he could carry all the pain in the world. He wanted to find all of you lonely hackers out there and show you that there is kindness in the world. There are people who want you to do well just for yourself, not so that they can make money off of you. He agonized over how to price everything he sold. He was well aware of the psychological situation where people treat something that is free like it has no value. So if you want something to be valued, you have to charge money for it. He felt bad about it. It's why anytime someone wanted a copy of his book from a country where they genuinely couldn't afford it, he would just send it to them. Knowledge should be free. But people are weird and don't really value free things, so he had to charge money to make people care. It's weird and it's silly, and he had trouble adjusting to that too. That's a lot of why he never worked at the big tech companies. He wanted to own his own mind and his time outside of work, such that he could work for the programmers in his community in his spare time. He deeply valued open source. He loved being a teacher and a mentor. It's lovely reading the stories from folks who worked with him. I remember almost all of you. He would come home every day and tell me everything. He regurgitated every conversation nearly verbatim. It's a good thing he could talk so fast. Noah didn't want to go. He mostly wanted to be with me. I'm going to be a little vain there. He took up approximately 20 hours a day for me for the last 8 years. We really did make a life that made us happy. But he also truly wanted to be with all of you. He was excited to know you. Also, an awful lot of the time he was with me, he was with you. We sat on the couch next to each other like cave trolls because we match. We had been talking a lot about the Ruby conference he wanted to put on in Inverness in a few years. He was going to handle getting the phenomenal world talent to come visit, and I would handle the other logistics around turning it into a series of world-class tech opportunities for local high school, college, and uni students. We would have created a really fun con. I'm sorry we didn't get to do that. There are so many pieces of this loss that are heartbreaking all on their own. He had so much potential and so many plans. Noah was big on saying that life isn't fair and there is no such thing as deserve. You get what you get. Noah was so good that it was often hard for people to believe they deserved to be in a room with him. I have struggled with that significantly all through our marriage. The part he would want me to focus on is, aren't I lucky that fate brought him to me for a while? Noah was brilliant, insightful, and kind in a world that tries hard to stamp out all three traits. You couldn't force him to stop being himself, though, no matter how hard anyone tried. I need to mention a few names because I would feel monstrously unkind if I didn't. Aaron, Nick, Amy, Nate, Misha, Avdi, Hillary, Jen. There are many more names I should say. I'm not going to get everyone. It takes me a while to learn the names. I'm sorry. I know so many stories about all of you. Noah talked about you constantly. He loved you. He was really grateful for the relationships he had with all of you. You all felt like family to him. If he got an email or a DM from you, I heard about it as soon as he finished responding. He would bounce through the house like a little kid because someone as cool as you was paying attention to him. He was really excited by the relationships he was forming in town. He saw so much potential for growth and family feeling there. He really was enjoying his time with the tech community here. Thank you all for embracing him the way you did. The next bit will be confusing if you don't know what I'm talking about, but one of you will. I'm talking to you and the other Ruby people. I'm going to give advice I have no right to give because I have no credibility in the Ruby world, but I have been backseat driving Noah for 20 years, for whatever that's worth. I have two last bits of advice for the Ruby community. A few of you need to come forward to help Nick with Scarpe. Noah spent a lot of time in the last 6 months convincing me that it was going to be important for the next stages of development for the language. He told me all about shoes and why. That doesn't make any sense if you don't know what I'm talking about, but it makes sense in context. Scarpe is the thing that has to come next, and it can't be just one person helping Nick. Noah believed Scarpe was the next horse to bet on. He was right about an awful lot of things. He could shoot down every criticism and attack I came up with. I'd buy a ticket on that horse if I were a coder. But most importantly, Ruby, stay kind. Tom and Anton, you are still the two people he instantly named as his best friends up until the week he died. You two carved your names deep into his heart. Thank you so much for loving him as much as you did. You helped him become a really wonderful man. Julie and Donald, thank you for creating a son who so blessed the world. Given that I'm raising his children, I must say that raising him was probably a difficult and stressful experience, and you still made a person who burned with intensity to make the world better. That seems like a blessing to me. Ben, now it feels like a bitter prophecy that I told you you were actually the best older brother. I am glad that you will be there to take care of everyone through this. Tim, Ruth, Tasha, James, Rocky, Nod, Norma, Elizabeth, Connie, Chris, and Mary Laura, I want to thank all of you for welcoming me into your family and sharing the love you had for Noah with me and with his children over the last 18 years. The 18 years I've been part of the Gibbs family have been the best years of my life because all of you made Noah, and he was really wonderful. Thank you. Willow, Calidora, and Jenabeth, stay seated. Your dad was so scared that he wouldn't love you and that he wouldn't feel your love for him. I'm grateful for the life and the family we created together. Our main plan was the future was getting to watch you grow up because you are wondrous and magical beings. We love you so much. Your dad devoted his life to helping me make sure that you all know how desperately wanted and loved you are. We will carry his love and the education he gave us forward. We will be sad, and we will miss him. But we will have each other, and we will have what he taught us. We will not only survive, we will thrive, because Noah wouldn't have it any other way. And now they're going to play some pictures for you.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They're like much more than I never knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Thank you
thank you all for coming. The family has a reception and a wake at the house, so if you know where it is, you're welcome to come as soon as we leave here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and those perfect really vanilla noodles, they're really good.
Okay, this one's for Gabby. Way up high.
look to you and I see nothing. I look to you to see the truth. You live your life, you go in shadow. You'll come apart and you'll go black. Some kind of night into your darkness. Colors your eyes with what's not there. Fade into you. Strange you never knew. Fade into you. I think it's strange you never knew. The stranger light comes on slowly. A stranger's heart without a home. You put your hands into your head. And then it smiles cover your heart. Fade into you. Strange you never knew. Fade into you. I think it's strange you never knew. Fade into you. Strange you never knew. Fade into you. I think it's strange you never knew. I think it's strange you never.
Letters on the sky, burning in your eyes. You look at me, babe, I wanna catch on fire. It's buried in my soul, like California gold. You found the light in me that I couldn't find. So when I'm all choked up but I can't find the words, every time we say goodbye, baby, it hurts. Lovers in the night, poets trying to write. We don't